Hey, welcome to another edition of BJB Today. I'm Tim Kruger, your host today. Thanks for joining us. Really hit that subscribe button and a like button. It helps us out a ton. Make sure and share this with all your Blue Jay fans and friends, and let's keep growing this as it is. Thanks so much for all the support so far. This show, we did this show, it enables us to talk about a lot of different things. And later on, we're going to talk about basketball roster construction. We're going to kind of do a compare from 4 years ago when we made the Elite Eight, and we're a whisker away from making the Final Four. And I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? So we're kind of going to just take a look at that. But first, I want to talk, first of all, about our sponsor, Infusion Brewing Company. Thanks so much for joining us today, and thanks so much for supporting Infusion Brewing Company. Uh, Tremendous company. They have great beer, and on this hot, humid August day, it's great to suck down a cold, ice cold beer. They've got blonde ales. They've got some of their flavored beers. I've talked about the dill pickle beer a ton. We're getting into Bloody Mary season with football coming up, so you know, throw some of that in your Bloody Mary. You're going to be amazed how great that tastes. You've got the vanilla blondes, you've got the chocolate beers they have. They've got some great stouts, all excellent options at Infusion Brewing. To see all they offer and to see their times of their tasting room when that's open, go to infusionbrewing.com and check it all out. And thank them so much for their sponsorship to Blue Jay Banner today. As I said, we were able to talk about a lot of different things here, and so because of these shows every day, and we're able to get into some topics, some sports we don't normally cover. Yesterday, I had the great opportunity of playing in the Creighton women's golf tournament over at Oak Hills, and it was a fabulous event. Want to thank Debbie and Conry, the coach, and everybody over there, Susan Marchese and everybody for the fabulous job. Patty Gallus was running the check-in. She did an awesome job, kept everybody organized. Fabulous event. They gave us this sweet Creighton women's. See on the side, it's even got the women's over here. I guess it is. Sorry, uh, Creighton women's golf logo on it. Sweet Nike Creighton cap. So thanks for that. But it was a great event, and on a couple of holes out there, they had some of the players out there to hit shots for you. Whether it be a par three or on a couple of occasions the drives. And we're playing the par five, sixth Alberto Kills, and Catherine Marshall is the uh, Creighton's women golf player that was there, and she absolutely bombed one. Absolutely bombed one. Um, I thought I hit a good drive. Just blew me away. So I told Catherine I'd give her a shout out if she nailed one, and she did. Was able to convert we were able to convert a birdie for us. So really appreciate that. Um, but several places around the course too, they had them, and you're just amazed by the beautiful swings these ladies have. I mean, they're just almost robotic. They're just all the same full backswing, beautiful follow through, down and through the ball, sweep the ball right off the grass and make solid contact. And I remember one hole on the 17, there was driving just absolutely crushed. And we go, well, how far did you hit that? She goes, I don't know, 250, 260. Just like, God. It's amazing the talent that they have. And so it's not a surprise how much the golf team has risen in the ranks of the Big East here over the last few years. And we're gonna have Debbie on the show, Coach Conray on the show here in the next upcoming episodes. So it's great to reconnect with her yesterday, and just a fabulous event. All right, today we're gonna just talk briefly about some roster construction. By the way, sorry this got out later than it normally does. Had some stuff going on in the house here today. Had some people over to check out a few things in my house, so that kind of ran along. But we're gonna check out roster construction. I thought it'd be fun to look at the 2023, 22-23 team versus the roster this year, and just obviously we don't know the full talent scope of this team. I mean, it's impossible to tell, right? But we know the talent was on that team and that team making Elite Eight. So, granted, it's a matchup things that worked out for us. Having Princeton advanced and getting the Sweet 16, so that kind of worked out for us. But uh, anyway, let's take a look at just position by position, kind of, and how we talk about the depth on this team, and I think that really brings itself when you start comparing. So on the 22-23 team, you had Ryan Hemard and Sharif Mitchell. Sharif, I think, battled some injuries that season, but still was an integral part. Um, Laid the ball in, made a big shot in the first NCAA game. And of course, we all know about Ryan Nemhard, what kind of fabulous college career he had. Um, so you had those two as your primary points. This year, you probably don't have somebody as dynamic as Ryan Nemhart, but you have much more depth. You have, Josh Dix, you have Ty Davis, and Nick Graves, all three very capable players, especially as we've discussed so far the advancement of Ty in the preseason. So three guys who can easily play the point. Um, how are you going to rank them and so forth? Again, we can't rank two brand newcomers, Josh Dix and Nick Graves, and then Ty obviously last year, but he's made a big jump, so it's hard to rate him. But you would say number one, tremendous amount of depth there, right? In that season, if you got an injury at the point, then you were down to one basically. This year we did have Trey. I guess you could kind of throw Trey into that mix, maybe like compare him to Josh Dix, maybe, who can also float over and play the two spot, which obviously Trey could very easily. So I guess you kind of had the three spot there too. So very similar in that respect. Then you go down to like the /2/3s. You had Trey and Baylor were your primary twos and threes. You really didn't have a lot of other players you could shuffle over there. Fran was the primary one, right? He was the sixth man that came off the bench and filled in on that position. Very good defender, up and down offensively. Didn't have a lot of size, but you really wanted Trey, obviously Trey and Baylor on the floor. Art could maybe slide over there a little bit, but had some struggles, I think, guarding the three. But he kind of wanted Art at the 4-2 defensively for rebounding purposes as well. But at any rate, that was kind of how it rolled. This year, you've got Fedor, and as we already talked about, Josh could slide over there as well. So let's just say you count Josh as a two and Fedor. And then you go down to three and you got Jason, right, who can easily play the three. He's proven that. Then you go beyond that and you've got Hudson Greer, the freshman, coming in, probably a 3-4. So you probably got four guys in the mix there: Josh, Fedor, Hudson, and Jason Green in those positions. Again, stacks up favorably. Probably not talent wise when you're talking about Baylor and Trey. I mean, two NBA caliber players. And obviously, Art is going to get some run, trying to hook on with the team as well. So you're talking about very athletic players there with Trey, Baylor, Art, and then Fran coming off the bench, somewhat similar. Now, the difference I would say here, you got Baylor and Art at 6'7", Trey was 6'3". The difference we have with this year's team and the 2-3 is Fedor's a big guy. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", but he's big. He is put together. Josh Dix is a big guy. Hudson's running around 6. They list him at 6'6". He's bigger than that, I'll just say. And also very put together for a freshman. Jason Green, of course, we know what physicality he brings at 6'8". So I would say we have much greater size in that position. Athleticism, it's hard to tell right at this point. Certainly Baylor wasn't the most athletic guy in the world, but I think he was more athletic than people gave him credit for. Trey was athletic. Obviously, we know what Art was an athletic freak. Fran was more of just a defensive guy that got in front of people. He wasn't tremendously athletic. You can kind of fill that in with those guys. Josh Dix, not a better athlete than people give him credit for. I'll tell you that. So he kind of fits in the Baylor mode, but he wasn't quite as big as Baylor. Fedor, Better than average athleticism, I would say. Just because he's bigger, you kind of can't compare him to Fran. I would say he's a bigger guy. And then Hudson and Jason, both athletic, both big, um, would certainly maybe not as athletic as Art, but they bring different things to the table than Art did. So again, I think pretty favorably comparable in the two threes. When we moved to the fours, that's where it kind of is different. I mean, we really had Art as a four, and I guess Baylor could slide over there a little bit, but you had Mason too off the bench who got some run early on. But this year's team, if you're looking, Jason Green can kind of play all over the place, but you've got Jackson, obviously. Everybody says around the league, and I'm not talking about Creighton people, I'm talking around the league, that Jackson can be, is certainly going to be an all conference player. So that's that I don't care how you want to compare guys, that's a big step up. Obviously, he's got some things to improve in his game, but we haven't seen that yet, but I'm sure he will. Um, you've got great depth with, you know, Jason obviously can slide to the four. You've got Isaac Trout, um, a big guy. Um, how do you compare him to Mason? Mason was more nimble, but I think you can compare last year. Now, granted, Mason was coming off an injury, but Isaac got more playing time than Mason, so you can kind of do a comparison there, right? That was very early in Mason's career when he was on that 22-23 team. Um, so you've got a great deal of depth. I would say this team probably stronger at the four. And I think that's one thing if you notice through the recruiting process slowly over the years, we haven't seen a huge jump in depth. Every year at the beginning of the year, we're like, oh my God, how are we going to get all these guys minutes? And then it ends up we're like, ooh, we're short a guy here. Um, but this year just really seems like the depth is crazy. Um, and I forgot to mention Austin Swartz also at the three, another guy that can play three. So the depth much stronger at each position this year. You have more choices, and I don't think there's so far, and we obviously got to play games to find this out. There's not a huge gap between these guys that are on the depth chart. Sure, some are easier. It's easier to put Jason Green in the lineup. Okay, he's gonna be in the lineup. So obviously there's a little gap there, but not really. Okay, and then you get to the five position, and you had Kalkbrenner and Fred, a pretty good 1-2 combination. But this was early on in Fred's career, and frankly, early on in Ryan's career as well. This is the first year that Ryan really developed into a full time player. So he didn't have the skills. It obviously didn't have the outside shot he ended up with at the end of his career. But you match that up with Owen Freeman, a different player, obviously, than Fred or Kalk. He's more mobile, can do a lot more things, can step out, stretch the defense a little more. And then Alexa, who will be on here now. He's an unknown quantity, right? We haven't seen him other than on film in Europe. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops into a player. And then you throw into the mix Kerem Conan, who just signed with Creighton. He's a 4-5. Again, we talked about how heavy the four position is. So he could be another guy you could slide in if injury or just performance could slide in. If you watch film of him, he's pretty athletic around the rim. I mean, I saw somebody tweet out something the other day like, uh, you know, can you believe this guy's going to be on Creighton's team next year? And yeah, some really athletic moves. So I think when you match it up, and again, I'm not saying this team this year is better than that team because obviously you had two NBA guys on there. Sorry, you had three. Kalkbrenner. Yeah, so you had three NBA players really on that team. Um, that's you know that's a big talent gap, right? But we don't know. Could Hudson Greer, Jackson McAndrew, uh, who on down the list, Conan for that matter, or Alexa, or whoever, we don't know. Fedor. I mean, Ty, you don't know Josh Dix. You don't know how these players are going to perform, develop, and so forth. So maybe down the road, when Baylor came in, we didn't think he was NBA the second he stepped on the court. We did as he went along. Uh, Trey always had that in the back of, your mind, but you needed to see him take a leap on defense, and he eventually did. Certainly, Kalk, when Kalk first started playing, nobody thought he was going to be an NBA guy. I mean, you go way back to when Anthony Tolliver was here. If you'd have told people he was going to play, what, 8, 9 years in the NBA and make millions and millions and millions of dollars in the NBA, um, you just said, you're nuts. But he developed. So from that perspective, I think the roster, the construction of it is really super solid. I mean, you get a position like the three position, and whoever is not performing up to expectations, you've got a ton of choices. You can slide Fedora from the two to the three, move Josh to the two, put one of the other point guards in there. You've got Hudson Greer who can slide to the three. You've got all these options. Same way with the four, although the four is probably our deepest position. Um, you've got three guys who, yeah, I think they're the magnifying glass is always very strong on the point guard, just because we've had great point guards through Creighton's career. Number one, number two, we've got to have, you know, it's easy to see when the team's not running well and you're not getting offensive production or defensive production from that point guard immediately. The twos, threes, fours, they kind of hide in there, and you don't see that as easily as you do at the point guard position. So there'll be pressure on those guys to perform defensively and offensively. And like I said earlier, so far this year, the um, the focus has been really on defense, really looking to improve our defense overall. That's where games are won and lost. That's where, I think Matt goes back to that. He kind of stung on that Auburn game a little bit because we were with them for a great chunk of the game. Two things stood out. Number one, depth. They just kept running players at us, right? And you could see us wearing down a little bit. Number two, defensively, we couldn't get those stops when we really needed them. So I think those two things, Mac, I think is pretty good. This probably isn't as offensively explosive team as last year right now, but it could be. Could be because we've got, when you look at Josh and Fedor, knock down lights out shooters. And then, Jason, we've seen how much he's improved. And then if you put Jackson in at the four, obviously a lockdown or unbelievable shooter. So you've got a lot of offense out there. You've got guys who can take it to the hole. Josh can take it to the hole. Uh, Obviously, Fedora can. You've got some other guys with quickness like Ty and Nick who can get to the rack. Austin has a two-way game of outside, inside. He can do that. You just got, obviously, we know how IT can shoot the ball and started to show a little more aggressiveness inside last year. Just so many options offensively. So it is going to boil down to defense. And I think when you have this many new guys, Mac really wants to set the tone on the defensive end. Okay, well, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed our discussion on the roster construction and just a comparison. I want to thank everybody on the Creighton women's golf team for a great day yesterday. Like I said, we're going to have Debbie on later in this week or next week, and later on in the week we're going to get into the quarter century team. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up today at bluejaybanner.com, the On3 network, like they've got a trial of $1 for a week so you can see how you like it, how you like the message board. You can check out the articles on there, one of which is that quarter century team. So go on and check that out. And then we'll be back at you tomorrow morning. And hope everybody has a great day. Thanks.